Attention Formula One fans. The most dangerous circuit on the calendar could be Ferrari's savior? Today we reveal why the 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix could change everything for the most legendary team in history. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix isn't just another race on the calendar. It is, without a doubt, one of the greatest challenges a Formula One team can face. The Jeddah Street Circuit is a monster of speed and precision. With its long straights, high-speed corners, and walls just inches from the cars, any mistake can cost not only a race, but also weeks of development and millions of euros. This circuit has been ranked by the drivers themselves as the most dangerous on the calendar. Sergio Perez, with complete honesty, has described it as the most intimidating track in Formula One today. And Carlos Sainz hasn't been left out. He questioned whether the extreme risk Jeddah represents is justified by the reward it can offer. Here, when a driver crashes, there are no escape zones, no room for correction. The barriers are closer than at any other circuit, and the average speed is terrifying. The average speed at Jeddah is around 250 kilometers per hour. It's the second fastest circuit on the calendar, behind only Monza. But unlike the Italian Temple of Speed, Jeddah offers no respite. The driver is under constant pressure, both physically and mentally. The tension is felt on every lap. And that, in a context of fighting for the championship or vital points, raises the difficulty to a new level. For Ferrari, this represents an ambivalent situation. On the one hand, the risk of an accident is high. A mistake in qualifying or the race can end with the car smashed into the wall, affecting not only the weekend's performance but also the team's budget and morale. But on the other hand, this same chaos, this same unpredictability, could be exactly what Ferrari needs to pull off a coup. The multiple safety car interruptions, red flags, and tactical opportunities that arise from the unexpected could work in its favor if the team knows how to read the race's development well. Jeddah is not a management circuit. It is not a place to race conservatively. Here, courage, the ability to maximize the car at the limit, and the composure to react under extreme pressure are rewarded. And in that context, the SF-25 can find an environment where it can excel if it manages to stay within its narrow window of ideal performance. This circuit is a high-speed lottery. Whoever plays their cards wisely and has the right car to take advantage of its characteristics can change their destiny in a single race. For Ferrari, Jeddah could be the place where everything begins to change, or where everything falls apart. There's one technical concept that could mean the difference between a lost season and a triumphant return for Ferrari: the SF-25's operating window. In simple terms, this window is the range of conditions in which a car can perform at its peak. The wider that window, the easier it is to extract the car's full potential, regardless of whether the track is colder, warmer, the wind shifts, or the fuel load varies. During the first few races of the season, Ferrari has suffered precisely because of how narrow this operating window was. At Suzuka, for example, the car proved unstable, difficult to predict, and very sensitive to changing conditions. However, everything changed in Bahrain. There, the SF-25 showed clear signs of a quiet but powerful transformation. According to leaked reports from Maranello and replicated by Italian media outlets such as Gazzetta dello Sport, the introduction of a new floor on the car was key. This new floor allowed the car's operating window to be extended almost double what they had seen at Suzuka. From one weekend to the next, Ferrari went from having a fragile and temperamental car to one that was more predictable, more stable, and easier to get into rhythm. And that, in modern Formula One, changes everything. But the most revealing aspect wasn't what happened in Bahrain. It was what the data predicts for Saudi Arabia. According to the team's internal simulations and aerodynamic analyses, the SF-25 could gain an additional 30% in that operating window in Jeddah. The reason? The track conditions align almost perfectly with the car's strengths after this update. An extremely smooth surface, low tire wear, and the need to run the car very close to the ground, a setup that previously generated problems with pad wear and loss of performance. This is where the SF-25's new floor becomes critically important. By improving structural rigidity without compromising aerodynamic flexibility, it allows the car to operate closer to the asphalt without excessively degrading the floor. This not only reduces high-speed instability but also improves the car's overall efficiency. With less bouncing, less friction, and better airflow channeling, Ferrari can now compete in a league where it previously struggled to remain competitive. Furthermore, the car's performance on low fuel has been consistently better than on a full tank. This was evident in the sprint races, where the SF-25 showed surprising pace. Now, with a wider operating window and favorable conditions, the challenge will be to maintain that performance over the long distances on Sunday. In short, the key to Ferrari's performance in Jeddah isn't in the drivers or the strategy. It's in this technical component that has gone almost unnoticed by many, but which represents the true heart of this potential comeback. If the SF-25 manages to take full advantage of this new configuration, we could be seeing the beginning of an unexpected recovery in the championship. Although Ferrari has found an improvement in the SF-25 with the new floor specification, the car's structural problems remain very present. In fact, it is precisely these weak points that could mark the boundary between a competitive resurrection or definitive stagnation in the midfield of the championship. The first and most critical issue relates to managing the car's ride height. In today's Formula One, every millimeter counts. Running the car closer to the ground improves ground effect, optimizes downforce, and allows for increased cornering speed. But the SF-25 has proven to be extremely sensitive to this parameter. If it is too low, the floor rubs and degrades, affecting aerodynamic flow. If it is too high, it loses efficiency and speed. This narrow margin of maneuver has made setting up the car difficult during race weekends. The second critical point is the rear suspension. Ferrari opted for a pull rod architecture, a risky decision shared by other teams like Haas. This configuration is theoretically more aerodynamically efficient, but very difficult to balance mechanically. And that's where the conflict has arisen. Changes to the geometry of the suspension arms introduced this year have caused stiffness in the rear axle, which complicates stability in fast corners and traction during slow exits. These structural problems are exacerbated in certain phases of the race. During long runs with a full tank, the SF-25 tends to stray from its ideal operating window. It loses balance, suffers from rear tire wear, and compromises strategy. In contrast, when the car is lighter, as in sprint sessions, it displays remarkable performance. This radical difference depending on the fuel load highlights a fundamental problem that has yet to be fully resolved. In Jeddah, these weaknesses could be both mitigated and exposed. On the one hand, the track's smooth surface and low tire wear requirements would allow the car to be run lower without causing excessive degradation. This can temporarily hide the symptoms of the problem and give the SF-25 the stability it needs. But on the other hand, the circuit's average speed and the demands of high-speed sections can amplify any rear-end instability. A single loss of traction or a sudden change in balance can mean an inevitable accident. Thermal management will also be key. Jeddah is a circuit where temperatures can reach extreme levels, and if the SF-25's technical package fails to maintain optimal tire and brake temperatures, new symptoms could appear that reduce the package's overall effectiveness. What makes these problems unique is their structural nature. They are not simple setup errors that can be corrected with a wing change or engine mapping. They are design deficiencies that are only partially mitigated with tweaks and upgrades. Therefore, each race that passes without a definitive solution increases the pressure on the Maranello technical team. The real question is whether Ferrari can continue to gain time with small patches, or whether a more profound redesign will be necessary before it's too late by 2025. Because at Jeddah, a circuit where not a single mistake can be made, any weakness is paid for with points, prestige, and possibly the careers of its drivers. In the 2025 Formula One season, one of the most fascinating contrasts isn't on the track, but inside the garage itself. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, two drivers with immense talent and radically different styles, are offering completely opposing views on Ferrari's current situation. And this difference not only reveals internal tensions but also exposes the true complexity of the SF-25 project. Hamilton has arrived at Maranello as a powerful figure. His signing wasn't just a sporting maneuver, it was a political, technical, and emotional move to revive Ferrari's greatness. From his first interview as a Cavallino driver, the Briton has exuded confidence and determination. He affirms that he trusts the team, that the path ahead is the right one, and that any change requires adaptation. For him, the results of the first races don't reflect the car's true potential. He insists that the team is learning, and that this learning is a natural part of any profound transformation. He doesn't see a crisis but rather a growth curve. That long-term mentality, built on years of experience at Mercedes, leads him to focus more on continuous development than the immediate pressure for results. But that view isn't shared by his teammate. Charles Leclerc, who has been with Ferrari for 5 seasons now, views the situation differently. His patience, shaped by frustrations, strategic errors, and broken promises, is running out. For him, the SF-25's problems aren't merely adjustments that need fine-tuning, but clear symptoms of a structure that continues to fail to deliver a winning car year after year. After the Bahrain Grand Prix, Leclerc didn't mince his words. Despite finishing in a good position, he made it clear that what seemed like a good strategy was actually a tactical mirage. In his own words, the car's pace was far below what was needed to compete with McLaren or Red Bull. And although some interpreted his statements as self-criticism, the truth is that his frustration was a direct warning to the team. This contrast between the two drivers reflects two completely different levels of pressure. Hamilton, a newcomer, has room to build and demand in the medium term. Leclerc, on the other hand, knows that every season that passes without solid results erodes not only his image, but also his prospects as a future world champion. The relationship between the two is still professional, but the difference in perspectives could become a rift if the car doesn't improve soon. Because while Hamilton projects confidence and a vision for the future, Leclerc demands results now. And in an environment as competitive as Formula One, this difference in urgency can lead to technical friction, divided internal decisions, and even disputes over the direction of car development. Both are right in their respective positions. But Formula One doesn't forgive a lack of results, nor does it justify promises forever. In Jeddah, and in the races that follow, Ferrari will have to solve more than just technical problems. It will also need to harmonize the voices of its two stars before internal tensions become a noise that overshadows any attempt at recovery. The 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is not just another race for Ferrari. It's an opportunity to redefine its season. An extreme, dangerous, chaotic circuit, where technical preparation, the driver's courage, and the team's ability to adapt can transform the course of a campaign that, until now, has been marked by frustration and doubt. The conditions in Jeddah, so specific and atypical, seem to align with the technical improvements Ferrari has introduced to the SF-25. The extension of its operating window, facilitated by the new surface, could allow the car to achieve a performance consistency not seen in the early rounds of the calendar. If that happens, we could be witnessing a turning point that not only saves the season but also re-establishes Ferrari as a true contender against McLaren and Red Bull. But not all is optimistic. Structural problems remain. Extreme sensitivity to the car's height, the stiffness of the rear suspension, and the difference in performance between high and low fuel loads remain real threats. In Jeddah, a technical error or misinterpretation of the conditions can expose these weaknesses just when consistency and precision are most needed. Added to this is the internal environment. The duality between Hamilton's strategic optimism and Leclerc's critical urgency is a clear reflection of the pressure the team is facing. Ferrari is no longer just competing against its rivals on the track. It is also battling its own expectations, its legacy, and the clock ticking as other teams consolidate their dominance. The decision to freeze development of the SF-25 in May adds another layer of tension. If the car doesn't perform in Jeddah, it will be legitimate to question whether it's worth continuing to invest in it or whether the focus should shift entirely to the 2026 car. That deadline turns every remaining race into a relentless technical evaluation, and Saudi Arabia could be the one that defines the fate of the entire season. Ferrari is on the ropes, but at the same time, it is facing one of its best opportunities. Because on a circuit where almost anything can happen, chaos can be turned into advantage and pressure into motivation. The question is whether they will be able to take advantage of it, or whether they will end up confirming that the underlying problems remain greater than any temporary solution.